Did you know it's quite likely that you've been falsely diagnosed with hypertension when in fact you have a perfectly normal blood pressure and you don't need that medication at all? Yep, it's true, and I'm going to explain that in this video and then also tell you some of the most ignorant mistakes made at your doctor's office while checking your blood pressure that could give you a falsely high reading. I'm Dr. Ken Berry, a family physician. Let's talk about whether you really have high blood pressure or not. It's estimated that millions of people around the world have been falsely diagnosed with high blood pressure by their doctor's office and started on a prescription medication which they don't need, which could be causing side effects that they don't want. So let's talk about blood pressure and whether you really have a problem with it or not. The first thing we need to talk about is that there are two schools of thought about what is a normal blood pressure. So the American Heart Association, who receives lots of donations from the big pharma manufacturers, have decided that your blood pressure, in order for you not to be on medication, needs to be less than 120/80. Now, many people around the world would have to take 1, 2, 3, or even 4 different blood pressure medications to get their blood pressure this low. However, the American Academy of Family Physicians, whose recommendations I follow, and several other regulatory bodies have determined that 140/90 is the cutoff that you should be worried about. Now, the American Academy of Family Physicians has seen all the research that the American Heart Association has seen. They have access to all that. They've read it all. And they just came out with a new update of their guidelines, and it's still anything under 140/90 in someone with no other problems is a normal blood pressure. Now, why is that such a big deal, and where did the American Academy of Family Physicians get that? So in the past, that was the recommendation from all regulatory bodies. And evidently the American Academy of Family Physicians either is more ethical or perhaps they don't get as many donations from big pharma manufacturers as the American Heart Association. So when you have a falsely low blood pressure goal like 120/80 or less than that, several problems arise. First of all, you're much more likely to need pharmaceutical intervention in the form of 1, 2, or 3 pills for your blood pressure every day to get it down to that falsely low normal level. So 2 things then you have to worry about once you're taking those medications is all of the side effects that could come from taking a blood pressure medication that you don't need, and then the synergistic effects of one medicine plus another plus even another. When you add multiple medications like that, you don't just add more side effects. You actually multiply the chances that you will have a side effect from those medications. And in many cases, for people taking 3 or 4 or more medications, there's literally no research. We have no idea what these medications, when mixed inside of your body, might cause to happen. And then the second thing you've got to worry about is if your body is perfectly happy with a 139/89, and then your doctor, following the AHA guidelines, gives you 1, 2, 3 pills to lower your blood pressure, that may not be enough blood pressure for you. There's a reason that your kidneys tightly regulate your blood pressure. In many cases, if you have a blockage in an artery somewhere in your body and the pressure gets too low, that could actually cause an ischemic event, either a stroke in the brain, a heart attack in the heart, ischemia in the gut or the kidneys or other organs. Your body knows how much blood pressure it needs to be pumping the blood with. And so anytime you pharmaceutically interfere with that, that could lead to problems. Also, it's very well known in the medical community that if you lower someone's blood pressure too much, it tends to make them lightheaded, dizzy, they have fatigue, they're much more likely to pass out, and as I said earlier, much more likely to have ischemia in organs. Another key concept for you to understand thoroughly is that an occasional high blood pressure is meaningless. Unless it's over 200/100, it really is of no concern whatsoever. If you get into an argument with someone, or you're under stress, or you didn't sleep well, All these things can make your blood pressure temporarily high. That's not the problem. You do not need a blood pressure pill if that's not a reason to take a blood pressure medication. But many people don't understand this, including many doctors. And so if a doctor checks your blood pressure in their office and it's high, even one time, many doctors will knee-jerk prescribe you a blood pressure medication and put the diagnosis of hypertension in your permanent medical record. So how good are doctors' offices at checking blood pressure? Well, I'm going to put you in charge of judging and grading your doctor's office, because I'm about to teach you all the things that can be done improperly in a doctor's office while checking blood pressure, and tell you how falsely high it can make your blood pressure. So now let me give you a scenario. You go to your doctor's office, you're running late, you almost got a ticket, you get in there, you have to fill out 14 pages of forms, you sit there for an hour and a half, and then they call you back, and the nurse pops you up on the exam table, and you really got to use the restroom pretty bad, but they didn't give you an opportunity for that. The nurse is asking you questions while she checks your blood pressure through your shirt sleeve. She's talking to you, asking you questions. It's really cold in that room. You could stand to be a little warmer. The cuff seems really tight on you. You're a bigger guy and you've got big arms. Now, how many things did your doctor's office just do wrong? And how much of an effect did that have on that blood pressure reading that the nurse and the doctor are about to freak out about? They did quite a few things wrong. Let's go through them, and I'll tell you how much each one of them could potentially raise your blood pressure.